Welcome to Chronic Combat Conversations, the interview series with your hosts, TB Scouting MMA and
the Guru, back again with the 14th ranked bantamweight in the world, Mr. Aiemann Zahabi, the king in the north. How are you, my friend? First and foremost, most important question, human to human, how are you doing?
Feeling great, guys. Honestly, one of the best camps I've ever had. I know the cliche of every freaking MMA fighter, but it is what it is. Camps get bigger when the checks get bigger and the life's getting good and the things are going well. So I'm all in for this one. I pulled no stops.
I love to hear that. Wife and kids, everybody's good?
Everyone's doing great, man. We're all excited, for this one. And I told them, no matter what happens, we're going on vacation after.
yes.
Excellent. Where are you going? What are you thinking? Anything planned?
I'm thinking either Miami or Vegas. I haven't decided yet.
Good choices. Very good choices. Warm weather.
Yes.
So just honestly, so you fought in Nova Scotia, Ottawa, Vancouver, and Edmonton. How does it feel to be fighting in your hometown of Montreal?
Man, it's incredible. Honestly, I'm really looking forward to it. I had a really good, a moment with the fans during my fight in Edmonton. It was the first time I've ever heard the crowd chant Zahabi. And it's not every fighter that gets their name chanted, no matter how long you fight for. Some guys, it just never happens for them. So that was great, and I'm hoping to have an even better welcome here in Montreal.
I would imagine so. It's going to be hard to imagine a scenario where the crowd isn't rooting for Jose Aldo when he fights, but I think that you're going to be the one to do it here in your hometown.
I'm not gonna lie to you. It's been Aldo's a bigger star than you would think. Like, even people in Montreal come up to me and they're like, listen, Aldo's one of my favorite fighters of all time. If you win, just don't beat him up too bad. I'm like, what are you talking about? The guy's coming to rip my freaking head off, man. Listen, I'm nice to the guy before the fight. I'm going to be nice to him after the fight. But in the fight, it is what it is, man. If I can finish him, I'm going to finish him. And it's vice versa. I know he's coming to finish me. He ain't coming to fucking, play patty cake in there.
No,
so
not.
I'm not appreciating the Montrealers telling me to carry the guy if I can. I ain't
That's
carrying
just Canadians being too nice.
Yeah, they're too nice, man.
If you're playing patty cake in a fight, that is not the way to be doing it.
Yeah, no way. Forget that.
So when you look at Jose Aldo's fight style, right? And
Yep.
I know you're a guy that really likes to watch tape. So when you look at that, what kind of challenges does he necessarily bring to your fight style, and maybe vice versa? What challenges do you bring to him? Because I also know that you pride yourself on looking different in every single fight. So I'm very curious to think about what kind of game plan you might have going into this one.
Well, definitely, I think he's gonna have the speed advantage. It seems. I'm not like the most athletic in terms of like how high I can jump, how much weight I can lift, and how fast I can run, things like that. And he seems to really rely on his reaction time and being faster than his opponents in terms of striking. So I've worked a game plan to work around that, and I've done it before. When I fought Javid had the speed advantage on me, and I found a way around it. And I've come up with a different type of solution to neutralize the speed for this one. So hopefully going to look completely different for this fight as well. Hopefully people will pick up the differences, and we'll see that, I changed some things around as the fight develops. But, for this fight, it's interesting because he got so much experience, and obviously world-class experience. He's got like 7 title defenses or something like that. He's fought the best of the best for so long, for so many years. So, I'm thinking of this fight, it's more like I'm going to start the fight with a certain cards in my hand. And as the fight goes, I might take a couple of cards, put them down, reach into the deck, bring in a couple of other cards.
Very nice.
I know that I have the capability to adapt over time. By the time the 15 minutes are up, there's going to be no doubt I'm the winner. That's kind of like how we're going.
I love that for you personally. As a fan, right? Since I don't know shit, right? So you can ignore me. I'd love to see you push a bit of a pace, be first and be last. Obviously, going to be tougher than you'd think against Jose Aldo and those damn calf kicks. But I thought you had like a lot more success versus Pedro Munoz when you were throwing more. And I'm not sure if it gave you trouble, but like his straight jab was popping you a bit. But I would love to see some output, because when I watch Jose Aldo's last fights, he's kind of going neck and neck with Jonathan Martinez, and he's going neck and neck with who did he lose the split decision? Bautista. You know, and it's such a closely contested fight. I would love to see you put a stamp by outlanding him by 20 strikes.
Yeah, that'd be incredible. You know, obviously that's kind of, part of the idea. And even I rewatched his fight against Rob Font, because I got to train Rob Font a lot this year.
Right.
And Rob Font was giving him the business in round one, man. For 4 minutes and 50 seconds, he was all over Aldo, but then he gets dropped in round one, and it kind of changed the dynamics between them. But he really just stepped on the gas and got in his face, and he didn't make Aldo look too good in the first 4 minutes and 50 seconds, so I spoke to Rob about the fight and this and that. He had his pointers to give me too from the experience he had. Obviously I spoke with Kenny Florian, messaged me right away when I got the fight, when the fight was announced, and we're 0-2 against Aldo, so I gotta bring this one back. I gotta do it for the boys. It's almost like Uriah and all the alpha male guys going up against him. They're all losing or whatever, against Dominic Cruz. Sorry, nobody beat Cruz until freaking Cody Garbrandt showed up.
The best.
You know what I mean? So I gotta do it for Team TriStar.
Yes. So that was actually one of our questions. We had heard about, Calvin Kattar, Rob Font, joining up with the team over there with you guys. Has there been anyone else new in your camp? Anyone else you've been able to get looks from different in this camp compared to previous?
Well, yeah, I got to train with Cub Swanson while I was in California. I got to spar him once.
Nice.
I got to spar with Rafa Garcia. I got to spar with Danny Silva. I got to spar with a lot of different guys, man, because Nasrat came out here for camp, so he was bringing guys in. I got to spar the guy. He's actually one of the few guys to beat Boakau. I got to train with Enrico Kiel.
Right.
He's a world champion Muay Thai fighter, kickboxing fighter, really, really good fighter. And I got to train with a lot of different guys in the last 3-4 months. So it's been a great experience. I feel like my striking is upgraded a lot, and I'm excited to put it on display against Aldo. And I feel like, it's gonna be a game of inches with Aldo, but if all goes to plan, hopefully I'll top my Pedro performance.
Speaking of the Pedro performance, right? You won the fight, but the two judges scored round 3 for Pedro. Did that surprise you at all? Did anything Pedro do surprised you? Were you tired?
I couldn't believe they gave him the third. I thought if they were gonna, when I heard the decision, I thought maybe they gave him round 1, because round 1 was the closest round until I got the final combo at the last 5 seconds where I landed the triple attack at the end. But round 3, I thought it was mine easy, man, because I even cut him in round 3. There was no cut under his right eye.
Yeah.
And I cut him in that round, and he was a bloody mess, and it looked like I dropped him. Either I dropped him or he sprawled. It was up in the air. So I was like, I took no damage in round 3. I took no damage in round 3. And I was popping the jab. Every time I hit him with the jab in round 3, his head was snapping back. My volume was lower, but my strikes were more efficient.
That's kind of why that's why I kind of said what I said. I had that bad taste in my mouth. I'm like, you won the damage, right? That's how you're supposed to score it. Yeah. But I looked at UFC stats, and it was your lowest output of the fight in that round. I was like, damn, especially versus Aldo, who I've watched gas now at the 7-minute mark. He's getting tired later in fights. He's picking his leg up against the cage. I would love to see you put a stamp on it, man. Nothing would make me happier.
No, for sure. But in round 3, I felt like I had the round under control in a sense too, and I didn't feel like he wasn't landing anything of significance. You mentioned he did land some jabs, but out of all the strikes that can land,
that's the one to land.
That's the one you want to land. You know what I mean? It's even in boxing, they don't even consider it a significant strike.
Last time we spoke, you mentioned how much the pain in the ass the calf kicks were. Just are in general in MMA. And it's so funny because we had talked about the idea of throwing out the Pedro Munez matchup. I don't think anything was written in stone, but you obviously got that matchup and then faced some of his patented calf kicks. Now you're facing, Jose Aldo, maybe the inventor of the calf kick, right? That's a little hyperbolic, right? But I mean, a guy that's very, very well known for his calf kicks. How do you plan to deal with that in this fight?
I mean, to block it. I mean, I mean,
Yes.
it's the answer is pretty simple if you can do it. You know what I mean? I mean, like I
Right.
train with Ryan Hall a lot for my camps. I bring him out, or I'll go see him and things like that, and he's always super helpful. Uh, but one of his ways to be really good high end grappler is a lot of times the simplest answer is the best answer. And I have my blocks ready for Aldo, just the way I had them ready for Pedro. But more importantly, I have my counters for them. And I feel like Pedro didn't go to that well very often, even though he's known for it. It's because when I hit him with the first hook on one of his calf kicks, he's like, "Oh, wait a second, there is a cost here." You know. Then he did another one. I hit him with another hook. Then he didn't calf kick for a while. Then he threw a couple at the end when he didn't have enough gas to make them count. So I took a couple, no big deal, and I was beating him in the boxing. But I think Pedro's a heavy hitter. He definitely punches very hard. He hits very hard. I just felt like I was able to block a lot of the strikes, defend a lot of the strikes, and recognize the patterns of the strikes that were coming and block preventatively and things like that. And then I was able to catch him in between.
Yeah, definitely. And I think one of the interesting things is you actually have one of the, I'm not sure if it's still the highest, but
Sixth.
you're
He's sixth highest.
sixth highest, but one of the absolute elite fighters at defensive striking rate. Like nobody can touch you for the most part. You have great vision of the strikes coming in. I know you talked a lot about changing that style after the Ricardo Ramos fight and not being as arrogant in your process. So I'm curious now coming into this fight, where Aldo, he presents a lot. Obviously, he's got great defense himself, but he also is a master of these counters and these layers. And your defense is going to be something so important. Do you feel like having the larger octagon is more helpful? Have you had to fight in the Apex before? Is that something that you take into account in your fights with the defense aspect?
Nah, no, no. I mean, the octagon for me it doesn't matter because to me they're both so big. Because the big one is 30 feet across, and the small one's 25. I got more than enough room to work. Like when I spar at TriStar, we have the official like the larger one. So we have the 30-foot octagon, and we have 3 groups going in at the same time. So we have so I'm always working in like a smaller area than I could actually fight in. So I'm doing the collisions or the exchanges more often than I would in a fight. So I'm ready for the repetitives of the exchanges. Like I remember watching Pedro's Wednesday interview on Fight Week, and they asked him like, "What's his plan?" And his plan was pressure. His whole plan was to pressure me and gas me out, but I didn't gas because there's always going to be enough room for me to move around in there, and I've got good footwork and I know how to change the angles, control the pace, and manage the distance that I need to be able to fight back.
Right. And I think that's where it's interesting, you taking the knowledge of the pressure of Rob Font, but also, no offense to Rob, but I think your defense is obviously, and the statistics say so, a whole other level. So maybe being able to put those pieces together. Now, you do have a height advantage. He will have a couple inches of reach. Is that something you guys take into account on your end? Kind of understanding that you can be at the end of someone's punches and make sure you're not going to be within range?
Yeah, definitely, man. I think the fight with Pedro was the first time I had a reach advantage in the UFC, I think. And Font has a crazy reach. Font is like at 72 inches, so that probably helped him with the Aldo, and I don't have that reach. Yeah, definitely. We try to take it into consideration, but what I found weird was that it's written that Aldo is shorter than Rob Font, but when they fought, Rob was the shorter guy, and I found that
Interesting.
weird. So like me and Rob are the same height. So I don't know.
Right.
Maybe they fudged the number. Maybe they didn't measure him properly or whatever. Maybe he's actually 5'8" and a bit, Aldo. I don't know. Or maybe he just stands tall when he fights, and Rob stands a little bit shorter when he fights. I don't know. I mean, in the end, that's why like the game plan is not too rigid, so that I can adapt in there, right? So I'm ready to change the cards up as I need. I've prepared a few different things, and I'm gonna start with a few choices, and then we're gonna adapt as we go along.
So Well, you know we have to ask you this, right?
Yeah.
Because we talked about it last time. You opened as a plus 125 underdog to Jose Aldo. You're
Yeah.
currently at plus 155, which is about a 39%, 40% win probability. How does that make you feel looking at that? Is that something you expect to be, kind of maybe just the underdog in this spot?
I feel like the underdog. I'm gonna grow as an underdog over time. It's gonna continue to go. The guy's got a lot of fans. The guy is,
Right.
world renowned. I'm sure there's gonna be big money on him. A lot of people supporting him and things like that for sure. And the odds never really mattered to me. I've proven them wrong time and time again. I have a record now in the UFC as, one of the largest upsets in UFC history.
True.
So, I'm not too worried about the odds. In the end, it's me and him who's got to fight. We got to fight it out. And then I prepared really well. And there's a lot of tape on the guy,
Right.
and he hasn't been kicking as often as before too.
Mm-mm.
He hasn't been kicking as much, and certain things of his game has changed over time. But then again, what if they get in his head and they're like, oh, they watched the tape against me, and they're like, oh, listen, he's got such a great jab. Maybe we should really work the calf kick because a great counter to the jab is the calf kick.
Yeah. And
So how is he? Is he at the point where he doesn't care to game plan and he's just gonna deal with me in there, or is he game planning?
it's
I don't
so
know.
I love that you asked the question because that's kind of like where I'm feeling to ask you, right? Like which Jose Aldo are you
Yeah,
expecting, right? Like you're planning for the prime Aldo, you're planning for what you've seen lately, you're trying some sort of amalgamation of both. Like what are
yeah,
you looking for in this fight from him?
yeah. Well, I'm assuming he wants to strike. You know,
It's a fair bet.
I'm assuming he wants to keep it on the feet. He's shot, but only a few times.
Right.
He shoots. He shoots under two conditions. One, he's kicking your ass, and two, he gets hurt.
True.
Those two moments he's shooting, man. And so I'm ready for those. But then the rest of the time we're striking, baby. I mean, we're gonna be standing all night. We're gonna be
Yeah.
standing all night. That's what I'm
I'd imagine
expecting out of him.
I'd imagine footwork is going to come into play majorly here. One thing I was very impressed in the Pedro Munoz fight was your ability to fight off the back foot, right? A lot of guys are good being hammers, they're not so good being nails. And in that respect, you used kind of being a nail, Bull Matador, you were able to
Yeah.
really kind of pull him in and, use your movement to your advantage. Similarly, again, I would love to see that again versus Jose Aldo, who can be a bit more flat-footed at times.
Yeah, but
But
it's not his style to move forward. It seems like
no,
anymore.
not as
He's
much.
more. He's much more of a counter fighter. It seems
It's
like
all
he's
that
trying to.
boxing training. All that
Yeah,
boxing training. He's much more stationary now.
much more stationary, and he's waiting. He's
Yeah.
waiting. He wants to go second. He wants to go second, but there are times where not much is going on. Like I
Yeah.
watched the Jan fight and the Aldo fight. Some points it was staring contest. And Aldo had to. I mean, Jan had to get Aldo to open up.
So
It's
what
it
do
was.
you do to nullify that? To not end up in a staring contest because you're
Uh-oh.
opening up the main card. Listen, I don't want to get here. I don't want too much, right? You can't give me
Yeah,
the secret sauce. I understand that.
yeah. I'm not actually. I think I'm like before the title fights now.
You. Oh, really? They
Yeah.
moved you up. Hell
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
let's
yeah. It's
go.
going.
It's a big
Listen,
fight.
Aldo's carrying me up the flagpole here, man.
Let's go.
No, you're carrying him, man. That arena full of people, they're there to see the king in the north.
Yeah, I hope, man. That's what I'm hoping for. But yeah, listen, I got some plans. I gotta, I'm gonna try to basically, yeah, I gotta try to draw him out. I gotta try to take him out of his game plan, and we're gonna see if we can get him to go first. It's
I
gonna,
like
it, that's
that.
that's it's gonna be a game of inches. Who's gonna get who to go first, and who's gonna have success going first? Who's gonna have more success going second? And that's what I was trying to tell you guys is that it's really gonna depend on how things go. And what I like, like the one thing I liked about the Pedro fight too, and with the Aldo fight is that they have so much experience that it's uh it's fun to go out there and not know what problem they're gonna bring up. and then
Mm.
I gotta solve it in the fight. I gotta figure it out. And if I can do that, it just gives me more credibility as how, to prove how good I am. Like
Absolutely.
after
Yes.
beating Pedro, I got a lot more credit than the other guys I beat before him, because
Yeah.
their game is so deep. And that's what's so fun about trying to figure out these guys at this level. And as much as I plan, in the end, I gotta go in there. There's gonna be some trial and error.
Yeah.
I'm gonna, there's gonna be mistakes made. Some things I'm gonna make a choice. It may not be the right choice. I gotta make big on the nose for it, and then I gotta reassess during the fight. And that's why I think it's so cool to have these high level fights in them. I'm just proud to have made it this high up.
Yeah,
Well, talk
you
about that trial and error and, making mistakes. Something I take pride in, and something we talked about last time, is the nickname. And I know there's still no
Yeah.
official UFC stats nickname, so I did some homework, and the guru's been trying it out a little bit. How do you, and we saw on your Instagram, a certain post, an homage to the one and only Jon Snow. You could be Aiemann, the King of the North Zahabi.
Listen,
You
I
could
like it.
you could be the prince also.
Can you
I
Yeah.
throw
had
it
a
out
couple
to
thoughts.
UFC? Can you throw it out to the UFC? Maybe it's the debut of your nickname this time around.
I
The
like it
King in
because
the North
like
versus the King of Rio. I
the
mean,
King of
that's a
Rio, man. I like it. That's why I put up
Just
that Jon Snow thing, because if I beat him, I
yes,
feel like I'm taking that crown.
dude. I'm telling you, this could be a magical moment. Nicknames are very
Yeah.
important to us at this channel, and
true.
for us to be able to help bring a beautiful nickname to light for you, nothing would make us happier.
Yeah, it would be sick, and it goes good because one of the like the things I'm telling myself, that like the story that I'm building for the camp kind of thing, is that
Hmm.
quote that goes like, when God wanted to make David a king, he didn't send him a crown, he sent him Goliath. And
Yes.
Wow.
Aldo's my Goliath, man. If UFC
Wow.
wants to make me a king of Montreal, king of the North, I gotta take out this Goliath. You know what I mean?
Let's go.
So, dude, as a fight fan, right? Like one of the most exciting things that I get to hear is the behind the scenes of how a match gets made. So, tell me, how did David get matched up with Goliath here? I need the scoop, because this is,
Yeah.
you refuse. You're such a polite guy. You're a strategic guy. You wouldn't give any names of who you wanted next.
Yeah.
You end up with the legend Jose Aldo. How did this come to be?
I don't know. I was I got the afternoon off because I was in California helping Nazareth get ready for his fight against Verbovics. And me and Enrico Kiel, we wanted to go watch the Lakers game, and it was his birthday. So we got the afternoon off, and we're on our way to go watch the game. But we're hanging out. We're staying in, I think, Laguna Beach, and we were going to watch the game in LA. So it was like a 2 hour ride.
Right.
So we're in this car for 2 hours, and out of nowhere, Frost just texts me. He's like, "Hey, we just got offered Aldo."
Wow.
He's like, "Don't worry about it. I'm gonna watch tape tonight. Go enjoy the game. We'll talk about it in the morning." So I look at
Interesting.
Enrico. I'm like, "Enrico, I just got the name Aldo." He's like, "Bro, you have to take it. You have to take it. He's a legend. You gotta do it." Blah blah. So me, I was all hype. I'm like, you know what? Let's go enjoy the night, celebrate your birthday, and then I'll talk to Frost in the morning. And like, as soon as I saw Frost in the morning for training, he goes to me. He's like, "So what do you think?" I'm like, "Listen, I think it's a win-win. Like, I can't lose. Even if I just go out there and perform my best, it's gonna be nothing but good for me." And he's like, "Look, I watched the tape. I think it's a good matchup, and you're right. It's a win-win. You get your name against another big, huge name, and it's just like there's only up from here. There's only up, right?" So then we said yes.
That I'm too busy laughing at Wasabi Zahabi. That's ridiculous.
Or the Cayman, Amen the Cayman.
That's
That's
ridiculous.
those are the type of quality I normally bring to the table, but we did a little work for this one. It was truly an honor. Also, shout out to the chat, Dan Tom. Eamon is the man. I'm glad you guys got to chop it up a little bit in Vegas. Yeah, we agree.
Oh
Eamon
yeah,
is the
Dan,
man.
what's up? How are you, man?
So
Great to see you again.
another friend of the channel. We love Dan
Yeah,
Tom over here. Good guy.
that's awesome.
So that, and when you mentioned, fighting Aldo and it being a win-win situation, right? When you look at his legacy, what
Yeah.
does it mean to you to be sharing the cage with him?
Oh man, it's an incredible opportunity because like now the whole world can see me fight. Like in the end, I'm still fighting Aldo. I'm still fighting the guy. And I never
Yeah.
really cared about my spot on the card or where I was or where the venue was and things like that. But now it's like you know, the lights are on kind of thing. But in the end, the lights don't change anything, man. The work that has to be done had to be done. I got ready. And whether the lights and TV and the cameras were going to be there, I was going to perform the same regardless. But it's a nice to have.
Yeah.
It's a nice to have to be on the, you know, on the real world stage now on pay-per-view, and like, you know, hundreds of thousands of people are going to be paying to watch it, and they're really going to be paying close attention to my performance.
Did you like kind of, I don't know how much of a mixed martial arts fan you are outside of actually fighting and maybe just studying, right? Like, did you grow up like, not, I mean, like when I say
Yeah.
grow up, like you grew up watching Aldo, like that kind of thing?
Yeah, of
Like,
course, man.
would you say that he's an idol of yours? Is that too much to put on?
No, I don't know. No, not idol. I don't think he was one of my idols, but I definitely enjoyed watching him fight. I thought he's probably the greatest. He is the greatest featherweight champion of all time, better than any one of them. Held the belt for a lot longer. Held it in WEC. You know, I had to be him to help Kenny prepare for him, man. I was the guy mimicking him. You know, I was been watching him since I was younger for sure,
Wow.
and I think he's a true legend. And it's cool to see to fight a guy that you've looked up to before. You know, you thought was so great, and now I get to put my name next to his. It's a real honor for me, real honor for my gym, for my team, and I'm happy to be putting on. You know, I'm happy to be showing out.
Absolutely. Hey, don't show him too much respect, right? We watched that that Martinez fight and that Marlon Vera fight. These guys, they're too busy respecting him.
Yeah. No, he's just another guy, man. He's got two arms and two legs and one head. He gets tired, he bleeds. He's human, man.
Nobody makes me bleed my own blood. Nobody.
Exactly. And you know what, man? I feel like it's, you know, it's my time. I gotta step up and take it from him, man. There's no other choice for me right now but to go out there and do it.
I love it. I love it. TB, any further questions for our true king in the north?
No, that was the most important thing I wanted to touch on before we left, because I truly think we can start a movement here. And what better way to earn the nickname than go out and steal the throne at UFC 315, May 10th. If you guys aren't showing out and cheering for Aiemann Zahabi, if you're in Montreal or you're watching anywhere across the world, listen, Jose had his time, okay? It's Aimann's time now. This is going to be an awesome matchup. I can't wait to watch. And thank everyone in the chat so much for joining us. Thank you, Aiemann, so much for joining us. The guru will do the proper takeaway. But Aiemann, any last words for the fans? What's your prediction of how this fight's going to play out? And do you have a little promo you want to cut for the people? I'm gonna bring us up.
Do you want to shout out anything like that at all?
Well, for the shout out, guys, definitely check out jujiclub.com if you want to learn from my brother Faraz. He puts out DVDs all the time on his website, and he's always great instructionals. So definitely check that out. As for me, guys, it's going to be a fucking war against Aldo, guys. Get ready. I've prepared my mind, my body, and my soul. I'm going out. I want to have the performance of my life out there, and I'm going to try to give every second of that fight everything I have. And I've done everything I can to do it. So make sure to tune in, support, share, like. And if I knock him out or if I finish him, ask for the 50 G's, guys, okay? It helps. It helps. It'll be really nice.
You finish Jose Aldo, they might give you 100, brother.
Yeah, that would be sick. That would be incredible.
I would imagine something big if you can get a finish. But I would love to see you just outpace him, bloody him up, and win a decision. Kick his ass any way that you can, man. Really happy to have you on. Seriously appreciate your time more than anything here. I'm sure you had a long day of training today, wife and kids to go back to, and here you are chopping it up with us. So I really can't appreciate that.
Guys, thanks for having me on again, and we'll do another one, okay? Call me
literally anytime.
Definitely.
Anytime. We're doing the show.
Anytime,
you are the
Aiemann.
man. We love
you. Take care of yourself, Aiemann, and everybody be safe out there. We'll be back next week breaking down UFC Kansas City. Be there or be square. Aiemann, seriously, thank you so much, brother.
Thank you, guys. Have a good night.